invité avec nous encore. Ça, c'est deuxième édition, deuxième partie. Là, nous allons voir information pour vous autres, d'accord, monsieur, partager information pour vous autres. Et puis, nous avons la grande dame de la chanson haïtienne avec nous en studio. Et puis, nous avons monsieur, un grand monsieur même, monsieur Afatan Matin avec nous là. Et puis, nous allons continuer par les côtés culture et puis différentes façons culturelles et puis traditionnelles, tout ça. Et puis tout ça qui peut-être qui est important pour nous, qui est en valeur pour nous, nous pas apprécier, peut-être dans ce jour-là, nous qui perdre. Et puis ça, c'est pourquoi nous continuer l'information là, partager l'information là pour nous connaître. Ça nous dit pour faire, peut-être faire un arrangement pour nous continuer à faire certaines Dominique, ni certaines valeurs à la tradition nous, qui tout le monde supposé connaître, l'école, les enfants, l'école supposé connaître, tout le monde. Once again, good morning with us, the lady of song, Creole lady,
Hi.
Ophelia Olivache Marie, and also with us is one of my esteemed guests and one who I've learned so much from, Mr. Avatar Mate. Let's move across and say good morning to Ophelia first. The ladies always first, they say, to be a gentleman, to qualify as a gentleman. So good morning to you, Ophelia.
Well, what is good morning? It's good being here one more time, and I feel elated. I had 3 different appointments.
Wow, clashing.
I
And you chose this
decided
one.
well, last week I had committed, so
Right.
you didn't change the program,
No,
so I
no,
didn't.
No. And good morning, Mr. Mate. How are you this morning?
Hey, not too bad, not too bad. How you keeping, Prince?
I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm blessed. And I'm
Are
happy to
you?
be alive. I'm happy to be alive. It's another wonderful day that the good Lord has made. And I'm feeling privileged
Well,
to
give
already be
thanks,
alive.
give
So
thanks.
what about you? What about you now, Mr. Mate? What about you? How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. I mean, I give thanks for everything, even when things are not working exactly as I had hoped or wished. I give thanks because there's a
Absolutely.
reason. There's a reason behind every disappointment, and so I work to turn it into an opportunity and a blessing. So everything's okay.
Okay, great. Last week we kind of delved into certain aspects of our culture, which sometimes people can overlook. And Dominica happened to be one of those countries blessed with an abundance of with an abundance of so much. And sometimes we allow or we take these attributes for granted. And who knows, one of those days we may just lose it, and we have a responsibility to continue to talk about it so that we can possibly sensitize certain aspects of our country to look at those gifts God has given to us and see how we can possibly get them to do something about those gifts so we can have them for generations to come. And I'll take the first knock this time. I want to introduce, we didn't speak about it last time, but I want to introduce the pan
Mhm.
because I believe for someone who has grown in the 70s when pan was a big thing, I don't feel because there's a particular section of our carnival
Mm.
dedicated for steel pan and lapo cabrit. And having covered carnival for the last 19 years, in particular, Juve, the last few years, zero presence of pan. And it is sad because from the time it reached to that level, we know that if we don't do something about it now, it's going to go extinct. Mr. Mate, the steel pan, I know, which is so dear to you. I know you yourself have tried several creative ways and ideas to sort of rejuvenate this particular noble instrument, which means so much to us as a Caribbean people. What are your thoughts on where we are with the steel pan and how can we possibly get it to be more considerate? Get people upstairs to get to be more considerate and put some resources into it.
Well, Wadix, pan is just one of the many areas of our cultural attributes that we appear to be losing. And for purposes of our discussion today, we will use pan as the illustration of what happens when you stop paying attention to who you are. Because I think people lose things if they stop realizing the gifts that they have had, they lose them. And I think it begins with not understanding what culture is. So we are losing our culture without even knowing it because we have lost touch with what culture is. I say that because if you ask the average person in Dominica about culture, they will immediately go to the performing arts element of culture, the
Mhm.
art, the dance, the music, steel pan included, etc. But the substantive core of culture is who you are, how you think, how you behave, why you behave the way you do. And I think when once you lose that dimension of culture, you begin to lose all the manifestations, all the expressions of your identity without even realizing that you're losing it because you've lost touch with yourself. If you ask me, what does it mean to be Dominican? There's a few things that come to mind which lead us to understand and what has happened to Pan. Dominica and Dominican is community, is doing things together, is respecting elderlies among others, is having respect not just for each other, but for this wonderful place called Dominica that has been gifted to us by the Creator, our rivers. We sing about it in our national anthem, think about rivers, about forests, about everything beautiful that God has given us. But do we internalize it? We make songs, Pakite yo pon Dominique hod nou, Dominique ki do kon si wo, etc., etc. But essentially, that was an attempt to try to capture the fullness of the culture. Mr. Pond, when he produced the lyrics for that song, the national song, was trying to remind us that we are a people who have been gifted with those things and that we have a responsibility. Come ye forward, all ye sons and daughters, to take care of it by first recognizing that it is Isle of Beauty, Isle of Splendor. I start there because all performing manifestations of culture, whether it be in agriculture or housing or construction or teaching or dancing and music and pan playing, all of that come from the same source. But if we lose contact with the source, we will eventually lose contact with all aspects of our culture, including pan. And the sadness of losing pan for me is that it is one of the few inventions that is peculiarly and completely a Caribbean invention.
Mhm.
It did not come from Europe. It did not even come from the motherland. It came from us in our displaced locations in the Caribbean. Steel pan was invented here in the Caribbean, was developed, and has become a full uh, instrument able and capable of accompanying classical music, calypso music, kadas music, all kinds of music. And so we have a responsibility that is underscored twice and three times over when it comes to pan because it is ours. But if we don't know the history of that pan, of that instrument, And it can just disappear without us feeling any loss. And I think that's what's happened. Back in the day, when we started, it was people like Tall Boy from Pont Michel, Ophelia's home village, and
Yes.
even later on Mr. Badwill,
Mm-hmm.
then Miguel Dublin from Roseau, Eddie Andre from Canefield. It was Knowlton. It was all those folks, Dominican, who one way or another got a hold of that Caribbean invention and introduced us as young people to that thing. I was 12 years old when I first played a pan. I am now 79. Do the math. So I've been playing steel pan for literally all my life. And I understand it because I know the history of it. I have met in Trinidad some of the pioneers who invented the instrument. And so it's sacred to me. I believe we need to communicate that history and that sense of sacredness to the children. Trinidad is doing that very, very successfully. Over 60,000 children in Trinidad play pan. How many children in Dominica play pan? There is a school program in pan in Antigua as well. We tried to get it introduced into the school system. Many of us tried. Many musicians like Freddie, like my brother Julie, and many others worked to try to get it into school. But the people who had the authority to decide on what went into the school system didn't know about pan, didn't care to know, didn't respect it as a Caribbean invention, and as a result, didn't make the space in the curriculum for it. The net effect of that is that we have lost two generations, three generations of pan players who, although some of them became really very good, stopped playing. And to bring it back will require not just another pan event on the bayfront in Roseau, it will require restoring it to its rightful place as a musical instrument that is taught to children in the primary school of Dominica. That will allow the instrument to take root again and to eventually blossom and flower into a full-fledged part of the Dominican matrix of Caribbean culture. If we don't do that, we'll have flashes in the pan, and every now and again we'll have a pan, but there will be no respect for the instrument because there's no knowledge of what it really represents. And I would hasten to add, as I end this piece, that we are seeing the same thing happen to our other traditional instruments. Uh, even when they were adopted from European sources, the accordion, the boom boom, the tambal, the gouage, the shak shak, these are things that a lot of younger people, not even younger people, people 30 years or so, would not even know what's a shak shak, would not even know what's a gouache, would not even know what's a tambal or boom. So we lose it and nobody cares because nobody knew what it was. So it's gone, so nobody misses it. And so I say pan is just an illustration of what happens when you don't recognize, accept, and take ownership of things that are at the core of who we are. Um, that's about what I would like to say by way of launching, hopefully, some concerns and some awareness about what happens When you lose a part of your culture, it's because you didn't recognize it as part of your culture, and you, as a result, didn't pay attention to what was happening to it. We can recapture it, but it's going to take an investment that must not be dependent upon decision making from above, as you said. People in authority who know nothing of Pan cannot be entrusted with the responsibility for restoring Pan. The same thing is true of Creole as a language, Creole music, Kadas music, Calypso music. It must be entrusted to people who not only know about it, accept responsibility for it, but who, like you, Wadix, are passionate enough about it to keep putting it up and putting it out there into the public view. That I've said enough for now. Thank you
What an
for the time.
introduction here, Ophelia. I
Yes.
mean, so many things to ponder on: respect, knowledge, recognize and accept and take responsibility. The same for Kadaslip, so Ophelia.
Yes, the same for Cadence Calypso.
Mhm.
Um, although Cadence Calypso, we are told, was created in Paris, but it was created by Dominicans.
Mhm.
I can recognize the difficulty in Dominicans taking it and saying that it is ours. That happened, I remember, and it was very clearly stated when my first award came from Paris. I got Maracas d'Or. So you see, I didn't jump, but I sang. And for my second album, I was given a Golden Maracas Award in Paris. And most of our musicians were out there. They were in Guadeloupe, Martinique, Cayenne, Paris, and you name it. And I did the same thing. And it was mostly men who were ahead of me, and I followed through. And when I came back, even now people tell me I speak a French Creole. Hello, me you ka kupon moi. So I don't know how comes it's a French Creole, and then what other Creole must I speak? Because that is part of who I am, my heritage. I remember when Mommy used to tell us not to talk patois in the house in Curacao, where I was born and brought up for my first 9 years. But I knew that that was part of who I am to be because they used to say it was for older persons to talk. But I used to listen and they underestimated me because I understood, but I would never let on that I understood. And if I had that ability at that time, I know children of now have that ability. So, but they need that leadership that you're alluding to. They need for the teachers to like it, and they also need people for the people who show them what to do to like it so that they too can develop that ability, that aptitude, that love, that passion that Wadix has for it. Oh well, if Miss say it's good, it must be good. Because I remember going by mommy, and when she wanted to show me how to do her long division in her special way, I'll tell her, no, Miss said to do it so. And Miss, would bowl out mommy's
Promise.
recommendation a few times. So in the same way, I would want Miss to do it. I would want um okay, I can't call names. I don't want to call names, but Wadix is a
You can call my
luminary.
name. You can call my name.
That's why I call
You have
him.
permission to call my name. You have
We
permission to
have
call my
license.
And if I hear, oh, so Wadix said that, because I hear young children say that, Wadix was talking about that, on the radio, it
Mhm.
becomes important to them. And the higher you go, the wider the responsibility becomes. And you too have to show them. It was Eoli Blanc who made us particularly interested in our ballet and quadrille and what have you.
Hmm?
And when you have people now talking about medicine that they can take, bush medicine that my brother would talk about, you have to know, oh, well, if he can talk about it, let us hear what he's saying so that we can get it out of who we are, because all of that is part of us. Even if we don't take the bush tea in the same way that other people take it, we have to know that that is part of our culture. So I like what Athi is saying about getting to know. I mean, how come Span belongs to us now? If Athi said that, I have to go and look to see where that pan come from, what kind of pan it is, how comes it has those donuts or whatever you can call those mounds on it, and how comes you can hear ping ping over there and you can hear pong pong over there. Are these notes? Are these real notes? I mean, there's that curiosity that is not there. Or
Yeah.
people just, if I come with it, they say, oh, that is old school, and they want to bury it. Hello. But from old school come young school and new school and bouillon school and other kind of school. So
Mhm.
we have to know where we're coming from for us to know where we want to go to.
I have that issue where the present day Dominica seem to feel we just arrived from the moon, from the
We
stars,
drop.
from we just dropped and we become how we are from space.
It seems
It's
so.
like we didn't develop or have an history prior to now. And this concerns me tremendously, especially with our arts. I'm just looking at the jazz and Creole. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
just looking at the jazz and Creole. We have tremendous amount of musicians that are trained and can excel on their various instruments. But then,
Including vocals.
including, well, yes, and vocals.
I'd like to get that chance, by the way.
You understand? But then you call it jazz and you call it Creole.
Yes.
And then when you look at the lineup, it is neither one or the other, but Dominica.
Mhm.
I listened to a guy, and a Matnikian, by the way, playing steel pan, and he playing steel pan jazz music in steel pan.
Mhm.
Flawless. And I mean, the people appreciated that so much. Why are we leaving out those fundamental areas of who we are and what makes us who we are
Yeah.
in expressing our jazz and Creole expressions? And we go in for the music of today as well. This is all that is available. We're going to open the lines in a while. But after I really want to take, to take a few minutes because you mentioned so much about the appreciation, and it boils down and stems down from knowledge.
Yeah.
If you do not know, you do not understand, then it will be difficult for you to appreciate.
Yeah.
And I think that is where we are. How can we reverse that trend? How can we sensitize our own self about those gifts? God gave us so much musical gift. We have in abundance per capita, but yet still be focused on the few that are so-called trending, and or we lost our true value. I will take Afi first and then Ophelia. And then we open the lines for whoever. I see the lines are going. Yes,
The
Afi.
best, maybe the best way to illustrate my response would be to describe something that I did with several of the young pan players many years ago. Um, I was asked to come back into the movement to assist. There were several different bands, and then we came together and created a band called Genesis,
Yes.
which was made up of pan players from two or three different pan groups. And one of the first things they will tell you that I did with them is the following. I tell them, what is the instrument? Where does it come from? We spent time talking about that. I introduced them to sites online that they could go and find out more about it. I also insisted that they become familiar with the theory of music, because the pan, like any other instrument, saxophone, keyboards, trumpet, is a musical instrument which uses a certain language which is noted on musical sheets and scores. And so you need to get familiar with those. And many of them went to classes and achieved grade 3 and higher in music classes. And it helped them appreciate that this wasn't just a thing to beat. It's not because it was made of iron and you were playing it with a stick that it wasn't an instrument, that it was a full-fledged instrument. And interestingly enough, I also insisted that if you're going to play pan, you also have to pay attention to the rest of your education, because pan provides you an opportunity to educate yourself about your own self, your own culture. And I insisted that those who were going to be under my tutelage would have to also be doing very well in school. And I must say that all of them did very well. Most of them, many of them are now doctors, and other people are working unfortunately elsewhere, but some are back home right now, marine biologists, etc., etc. So what I'm trying to suggest is the way forward is not to isolate pan, but to situate pan within the broader matrix, the broader picture of our culture. And one of the things I did with, it must have been about 8 or 9 of them, of the better, more advanced players, boys and girls, I took them on a trip to Trinidad and Tobago. And I brought them, I immersed them in the origins of Pan, brought them to the Panyards. We went down south and met young people like themselves playing pan, reading music and playing pan. We went to the panyards of the big bands, Renegades, All Stars, and 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 so let them get a sense that this was not a frivolity. This was a serious thing, and that you should be honored to be part of this tradition. And there was one experience they had at the Panyard of the Trinidad All Stars, which many of them, even nowadays when they meet me or they remember, we went to a rehearsal of the band and we stayed and so forth. And at the end of the rehearsal, the band was playing the national anthem. They played the national anthem at the beginning of the rehearsal and at the end. And a few of the Dominican players that I brought were sitting. And one of the leaders of the band came over and told me, "Young fella, excuse me, stand. We are playing our national anthem." Think of the lessons that are embedded in that exchange. One, this is an instrument that we give a lot of credit and respect to, and all the traditions associated with it. And two, that instrument is able to allow us to express our national, aspirations by playing our national anthem. And we had long conversations among ourselves, the Dominicans with the young players and so on, about the significance of that. So the education is not ABC 1, 2, 3. Although I will tell you that music and mathematics are first cousins. There are 7 notes in the scale. There are 13 notes in the full chromatic scale. And you can teach music that in a way that will teach mathematics, and vice versa. The key of C, if you take your alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all of these signify what? Keys, musical keys, assemblies of chords and structures of notes and so forth. So you can have deep philosophical and and theoretical and educational discussions when you are playing an instrument, any instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Pan is that. And as you said, the Magnican chap was playing jazz. We do jazz. We do all kind of music. We can do classical music. The 1812 Overture, Schubert's Serenade. All you name it, we can do it on the pan because it's a complete instrument. So I think it is two things. One, information, but information as a singularity that is not connected with other streams of information becomes boring, particularly to young people. So you have to help them see the bigger picture. Take them on tours. Why not every year have tours of young musicians who are interested in pan going to Trinidad or Antigua or now St. Lucia or St. Vincent? And that began to happen. So their whole being, their body being and their mental being can become part of the learning process. Their knowledge and their passion is excited and ignited because you have helped them see that this is yours. Embrace it,
Mm-hmm.
respect it, and use it to make friends, use it to make peace, use it to bring joy, use it to do all those wonderful things that we have as part of who we are. Use it to
Make money.
encourage kudme.
And also make
Make
money.
some money.
And you see, one of the things that also concerns me is while we in Dominica we put the contemporary over these areas of our life and of our culture. In places like Trinidad and even Antigua, their contemporary music is alongside it. If you
Yes.
go to Trinidad, the amount of pan you will hear, you'll wonder wait a while now. But then soca is still big, calypso is still
Yeah,
there. So it's not like as if we
absolutely.
sacrifice one for the other like we do in Dominica. So we have the total reverse, Ophelia.
Yes, it's true. And
Mhm.
the old school thing bothers me. It really bothers me. And you are just, making me go back to that. And we have to be able, maybe do we have enough people though? Or maybe we need more people like Wadix and RC to show the linkages and to develop the holistic approach towards that and everything else that is in our life, because um we used to move houses. I am old enough to have seen
Yeah.
people moving houses
Yes. Yes.
on
Mhm.
music,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it used to
Yes,
facilitate
yes.
the thing.
Yes.
I have
Yes.
seen people listen
On music.
Mm,
on
mhm, mhm,
music, and
Yes.
it
mhm,
is rhythmic, and they say I forget the songs that they sing, but when they're doing Papi Son, that is the
mhm.
first
Kasi
thing.
wala.
Yeah, Papi Son,
Kasi
siye
wala.
voila, siye voila. Every time you say siye, you pull down, and the other one pulls up.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
so the and I like what he was beginning to say about pan and situating it,
Situating it.
not on our side.
Mhm.
And I was hoping he would have said center stage. Start the thing with a pan solo, make somebody play Isle of Beauty on a pan to start the thing. Even in the parliament, or so we can start, and sometimes when I recommend that because I've been in, and I still am in, a lot of committees, and so, and when I suggest that we put music into it, I sometimes get a hiccup. Oh, but we don't have money, or um, but that is like a sunrise. When you place it in there, it makes people feel, oh, that is ours.
Mhm.
I belong. And something happens in the room, in the atmosphere, not necessarily a room, even on a savannah or by a bay, you know. So music has that kind of thing of linking all those little facets that create us.
And what I love so much about music, if we recall when we were small,
Yeah.
music was we were taught music in
Yes.
recitations. Jack
Yeah.
and Jill went up, Let's
Yes.
take our first caller. Good morning to you, Creole Heartbeat. Good morning, Afi Mate and Ophelia. Hello, good morning. Okay, we
Lost one.
okay, all right, no problem. You can call feel free to call back. But music is so important because it was taught to us
Yes.
as young children, and it
Friday
worked.
afternoons.
It
Friday.
worked. And even the curriculum, let's say in the 70s, we have it because I'm kind of concerned that lots of things we had and protected and was very important to us. Somewhere along the line, they keep
We
slipping
lost
our
them.
fingers.
Yes.
And all the other islands around us gravitate towards those same values. Let's take another caller. Good morning, Creole Heartbeat, Ophelia and Afi.
Yeah, good afternoon, Wallace. Good afternoon,
Hi,
Good
good
morning,
morning.
bro.
brother Alfie. Good afternoon. I'm happy you're having that conversation today. I- what is our culture? What percentage of our budget is based to culture, Wallace?
But that is where I think one of the major issues is, or yes, I don't know, but I think that is one of our issues.
You know why St. Lucia and all these places? You might have to go to St. Lucia while it's work at that place so soon because you,
I was told to have colors dip show in Guadeloupe this year.
yeah, this is culture because they are institutionalized. And as Afi made that point, we don't have an institute of culture. Look at how deep our culture is. We don't create institutes in Dominica. You understand? We're struggling to get our house of culture together for how much years? 15 years? You understand? So for you to inculcate those things so you do not have that generational gap, you must have funds and resources geared towards institutes that enable those cultures to become relevant in young people's lives. And that's what's missing in Dominica, nothing else. Have a blessed day.
Yeah, man. Thank you
Thank
very much,
you.
caller. Very pertinent
You know,
point. Taking more calls, and then we can respond to those callers after, let's say, 3 or 4 callers. Good morning to you, Creole Heartbeat, Afi and Ophelia.
Good morning, Wadi.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ophelia.
Can you just
Hi.
slow down the
Good,
volume of your radio or your television, please?
yes.
Thank
Good
you.
morning, Wadix, Ophelia, and Fimase.
Good morning to you.
Boots on the ground.
Yes, my brother.
hey, good morning, my brother. Good morning.
Where you hoste, Pepe Ilayo Levano, hoste.
Wall struck
Okay,
in.
let me tell you, Ophelia, you know I love music.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's not just Ophelia. Dominicans know I love music. Because right now, when I stay away from Carnival, I have a big problem. Because my Carnival and my Calypso was part of my life. And Ophelia know we used to sit down in the truck and enjoy our old time music.
Yes.
Because right now I'm missing that. Right when you go to town now, the carnival is already. It's a
Different.
different kind of music.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But while we're on that discussion, I know we're talking about Guadeloupe because I made a whole year call it in Guadeloupe last year. And if I tell you that I hear more Dominican music than when I in Dominica played on that Guadeloupe radio station day after day. And the music they play in, the DJs that have vibes. Because all them musicians before is message in song.
Yes.
So them fellas have to give you the message, it's a Creole business, and then say music like Dominique and blah blah blah. Ophelia know about it. All of us you know about it. So
Yes.
I just tell you what, Alex, don't back off because our culture is really deep down. Our people not taking it up enough. In fact, if you hear the bands that play, the people at the radio station, sorry, that play in our Cardas, is often on you hearing it. Our Calypso is seasonal, we hearing it. When you go to places like Guadeloupe, my brother, is year long. and is how they just talk about the musicians as if you would swear is icons, they have them on top. So I would like to see our country start to adopt something to do with our culture and our music because music is part of our life. Music is a messenger, is the best transporter to human problem. So we definitely have to try to do something more about our music. While it's I know you're doing your best, don't give up. And you have some people around you, maintain, but on it go.
Thank you very much. And by the way, he was an instrumental figure in Wall Strucken, getting some entertainment on the road during those days. Let's take in two more calls, and then we'll ask both Afi and Ophelia to comment on some of the calls, just taking the points. More
Okay.
calls coming in.
Hello,
Good morning to you.
Wadi.
Good morning to you, my dear.
Afi and I'm Ophelia.
Good morning.
Wadi,
Yep.
thank you for what you're doing for Dominica.
Thank you very
and
much, my dear.
also Ophelia and what
Thanks.
Afi has done.
Thank you.
But Wadi, sometimes I say, is anybody listening, Wadi? And you know what I find, Wadi? I'm person I like to speak my mind, right?
Mhm.
What I am saying is, some people on organizations, I'm just talking, no. You're an organization, you just come, you understand? So what you know is from the time you were born, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it had things that happened before you were born.
Yes.
So you have to check the elderly, the people who were there before you, give you a little, seek some advice, Wadi.
Yes.
I'm coming to this in any organization, anything you have to do, because we have a kind of a culture. When some of us in something, we know everything.
True.
We don't want anybody to tell us anything.
That's
You
correct.
understand? So things are dying. Not to come to the steel pan. I'm just throwing out a question. What is the role of the cultural division? I know the cultural division staff is limited because when I work in the education and culture was under education, even in time of Alvin, he was saying staff is limited, okay? But with this cultural division, I am asking, especially for PAN, can they have a program, say, every Friday and Saturday? I'm just suggesting you advertise that for the young people who are interested in PAN. You get some people who know about PAN to help them. Even though it's a $10 or $20, you ask the parents, to contribute. And you start that. We know with these schools, it's a challenging, a little challenge. We know that funds are limited, but the cultural division can start a little program. That is my advice. Advertise it. Who interested? And you get a lot of young people to play pan, every Friday and Saturday and during the holidays. You understand? When you look at Trinidad, the way they play pan, you haven't seen that, how discipline join themselves on
Man,
that
and
pan.
dancing,
You know what
choreographing,
days
and
when we had this little pan on used to chip behind that in my young days. Look at music, sweet music, I mean, now the other general take over, we agree. But you have a place for pan.
of
So I
course.
always ask, is anybody listening? Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. And that's why we have to continue these educational programs, and hope that one of those days authorities will actually understand that we need to value what God has given to us. The same way we didn't do very good in our rivers, and some of them are now drying out. We cannot allow our other natural resources, our talents, to devalue and go for the fast food stuff. More calls for Afi and Ophelia.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, ça qu'a fait?
Good morning, Auntie.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good
And
morning,
Uncle Afi.
and Uncle Afi. Tell you, we Dominicans don't appreciate our local artists like Ophelia, Mikel Nestle, Kalinexi, Dice. We don't appreciate those people there. Because I think picture when he died, there wasn't one minister of culture at the funeral. That was everybody. Not even the president, neither the prime minister that come. And that man put Dominica on the map. Help to put Dominica on the map. We does not appreciate what we have. I appreciate Ophelia anything that lady in Creole in the park. Oh yeah, they have us. I want to see my lady sing. I want to see Michael Nestle. I want to see Colton sing. Because that is our old
artists, our own people. We doesn't appreciate our Dominican. We appreciating more the foreign artists. But I rather my Dominican artists. And Ophelia,
Yes,
good
dear.
luck to you, and
Thank
I
you.
love you.
I love
Take
you
care of
too.
yourself. Love you, Wadis. Wadis,
Thank you very
what a good job
much.
you're doing.
Thank you very much,
You're
my
doing
dear.
a very good job, as I always tell you. Your flowers, I don't know when they'll give you a flower, but there's a place in heaven that people like you, Ophelia, Afi, all the others. So
Wow.
take care of yourself.
Thanks.
Love you all.
Yeah, thank you very
Bye.
much. The calls are going. What should we do? Have we take them
Take
or
the
okay?
well.
Let's take the calls, man. If we let's say take the calls, so let's take
Sorry,
the calls.
I
Good
said
morning.
that
It's
without
important.
thinking.
It's important that you express your your opinions on what we have said so far. Good morning to you, Creole Habit.
Morning, Warwick,
Good morning.
and morning to Miss Ophelia and Afi.
Good morning.
Okay, I know Afi and you had this big afro, in the early
Yes.
70s, moving around with Rosie, very vibrant man. He used to drive like a red open car. But I find Afi live long in the praise God, but he's a
That
blessed
is
man.
that.
That is
That
why
is
that's
that.
why I want to do a series of programs with him.
Yes.
You have a lot of
Yes,
history
man.
where you
I
see
know
him there,
Afi long, man. Afi was like Afi born to be a survivor. Afi thanks God for you, man, like you and Miss Ophelia and Wadik. And Wadik, the lady that speak a while ago about education, I totally agree with her, because I think Washway and Gordon Anderson them setting up a little park in Goodwill, close to the bread shop, a little park. And I think that is a good idea, what if you work with the elderly people? I think that's a nice little setting up, or they should set up there and have little skill band to take them out sometime on the weekend. It's a little park just by the Goodwill, close to the credit union, a little park in the center.
Oh yes, I know. That
I
is
think Gordon Anderson
no,
and
just
some of
just
the team
across the
and
credit
Washway.
union. There's
They
a little
cleaning
park.
all around
There's a
Goodwill. I think
church
that's
close
a good
by.
Yes,
all you
yes.
need to
Kingdom
do.
Hall.
And while
Yeah, yeah.
I want you to implement new things, because you work with the elderly people. I think on Carnival days, all you should have a set up somewhere by the new market for the elderly people, because you don't want them to in the middle of this city. Just for the same thing all you're talking about there. Because it's only here we keeping back the elderly. I work in tourism for 15 years as a vendor, and you see people coming on wheelchair without legs, so far from Europe, and they're enjoying their life. So why we bond the elderly? And I thank God for people like Miss Ophelia that come in on the scene and implement some new things. I do work with the Home for the Ages. Miss Ophelia know me, and the Cancer Association. I think you're part of it, Warwick. And I really implement the ideas, Warwick. And
Respect.
I think one of the guys was telling you on your last program there, when you had a program with Fitzroy, that piece of land between DDS, I think all you should set up there. People like Miss Ophelia should write to the cultural division to get that piece of land in the center there, so that all you can put up a real structure, that all you can have all the different office, and people like Miss Ophelia can have an office there, and you have cultural things going on there. There's right where the tourists passing, and you put up the same signs like what you had at the bayfront.
Yeah.
I think you have to break down them barriers, man. Walix. You are ambassador now, you sit there in your power. Take man with you, Walix.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much, caller. And, I'm motivated by a lot of your comments here this morning. The calls are coming in. Let's take the calls, and then we'll allow our guests to comment on them. Good morning to you, Creole Admit.
My two uncles, good day, and my auntie, good day as well.
Hi, good day.
Greetings,
their blessings to you,
greetings,
darling.
greetings, my
you.
brother.
What is eternally indebted and grateful. Thanks a lot.
Maximum respect, bro.
Happy, thanks a lot for your effort, what you have done for country and humanity as well.
He's still doing.
Blessing, happy, but happy cannot talk again, man. Happy, hear me.
Who say that? Who say that?
He's smiling. Yeah,
Happy smiling.
Happy, blessings to say, blessings to everybody.
Yes.
I want to give thanks and the great contributors having to do with the whole upliftment of culture in Dominica. It is so sad that I've listened to people, have people selling passports and all of that. They're not doing anything to benefit the country. It's an individualistic thing, ulterior motive. And when they have people like Artie and Ophelia and my brethren, the Wadicks, and all the people that have advocated, Felix Anderson tried so much.
Yes.
And the people with the billions stashed away from ours. They're doing nothing. We try to talk about pan in Trinidad. So now AFI have to come with his challenges and try to resurrect pan. And it is sad because everybody talking about, how they call it, voluntary service. But the real hardcore, you know who. You back a volunteer, good bag you face, you like show and we to me. You like you want my money, you have to vote for me. I already get it on the job, so let me get off the air. Anyway, thanks to all you, thanks for the effort. Hey, Afi, so you have to put your boots on and come back on the battlefield, trying to resurrect parties. We have to mercy for our veterans and our elderly. Blessings to you all and thank you all. You have inspired me through the years. So I bought a CD and sent it right to Alaska for somebody. What if it's not you? Don't have music. And it's not it's not a volume. So don't come and try to say take praise there. I don't want to listen to him. That's important. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. And more calls are coming in. Let's take the calls. Good morning to you, Creole Heartbeat. Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Creole Heartbeat. Yes, good morning.
And good morning to Ophelia and Afi.
Good morning, my friend. Good morning.
Yes, I'm very glad that you repeated the program this week.
Yes. Yes, we were on last week and we decided to have a part 2.
Right. That is the education that we need.
Yes.
In Dominica. I heard Ophelia talk about earlier on to make the point about some people say, oh, this is old school and so on. The reason why they're saying that is because we never sustain this thing and keep an interest in it so the young people grow into it. I remember when I was doing my insurance course, it tells you that you may die early, you might become disabled, you might grow old, live long, but if you live long, you get old.
Mm-hmm.
So those who are young now, at some point, they'll be the elderly. I remember as a boy growing up, when I heard somebody was 50 years and 60, I say, what? Mr. Oliver, and all of a sudden I just reached there.
I know.
And that category. So I think we have to work together and expose the young people. I myself, I'm involved in a certain level of music, organization of music, because not that I have any gain in those things personally, but I like the fact that people who have talent can be exposed. Because God gives you a talent, and you're going to keep it to yourself, but you use it for the good of others, and they must appreciate that. And what I find sometimes very disheartening is when you have a local artist have something. Sometimes the activity they have is $30 and $50, and then some you go to 20. And when you go there, the place has a handful of people.
I know.
And then when an artist comes out, you are 150. I remember a guy telling me you're joining something online, and you have to pay 90 US.
Mm-hmm.
I said, wow. Online. And we don't appreciate what we have in our people and to be able to give them the opportunity to grow, because we should be in a position, and that's an area we have to look at seriously, that our people in culture and sports could make a living out of that. Because make a living out of that, live well, I coming from, and so on. Another thing I think too, well, we spoke about the arrogance of culture many times, and the idea was to have it actively available for artists and for the public, and it is still there, not finished, and so on. So I don't know what is the rule back there. But I think we have to reverse what we do, and I think you're doing a fantastic job with Creole Heartbeat on EBS and on Q, and how we could get
thank you very much.
All the stations to link,
Yes.
That'd be
and
nice.
have, so that everybody can hear every time what you do on all the radios. So congratulations to you, and thank you to Afi and Ophelia and the rest who are involved in these areas. We have to work and work hard. And once we are alive, we have health, and we are okay, we should be able to play our part to continue to build this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And by the way, we have to break for the news. So we just have 4 more minutes. I'll start with you, Ophelia, from based on all what you have heard.
Yes.
Lots of comments again, lots of good feedbacks. People are concerned about what's going on. And it's good that they are giving the feedbacks. They are making recommendations, not just critiquing, but they are making recommendations of how we
tangible things.
Tangible recommendations. My what I will do definitely is to compile both programs and the recommendations and see how I can do something to at least represent as an ambassador to the necessary authorities, the cultural council, the minister, and whoever, because I think this is important. important that we educate ourselves, we educate our younger ones, we educate our population about who we are to know where we need to go. So words
Yes.
from you, Phil, and then Afi. To end.
Yes, I agree totally with you, Wadix. And if you notice, nearly everybody who spoke about the people
People.
involved. And we're talking about Arthi, Wadix, Ophelia, and the others,
Yes.
and those who have the money. I'd like to suggest that they can say there's some, for the
Yes.
kinds of things that we are involved in. That's why I never get richer.
Mhm.
The older persons who have taken the culture to 90 years, 100
yes,
years, 120 years,
yes,
like
yes.
Pampo.
Yes.
Can somebody give us a money? Just give us a money. Just choose one of us or one of our activities or
And
something new here.
sponsor,
And yes, just adopt us.
adopt it. Yes.
Every month, send us $1,000.
Yes,
We will
yes.
stretch it. Women can stretch.
Yes.
I don't know about you and Athi, but I will stretch it so that it covers. And we need it. Money is not everything, and it's okay to say that. And I thank the lady for
Are you
saying,
willing to go on several tours to the various schools to teach our children about Kadas? Because Gordon actually committed. He
well,
committed
I can,
to
yes,
doing several sessions with
yes.
school children. We just putting the children together.
But you have to have fruits or something for me to eat. So
That's
you
not a
have to
problem,
have
man.
money.
That's not a problem. That's why we have to put it so the
Yes,
people
I'm
can hear
willing.
us.
I'm
The most
willing.
important thing is willing. Afi, a couple of minutes before we leave for the news. Yes, Afi?
Yeah, just three things. In the spirit of suggestions. Number one, I can't remember the last time I read a political manifesto that made a serious effort at reflecting the importance of culture as part of the development process in Dominica. I haven't read one, and I think it begins there. There has to be a signal sent at every level, institutional and otherwise, that this is important to us. Number two, management, personnel. You need the right people being engaged in the promotion and the caretaking of culture. I look at the people in many cases who often end up being in senior decision making positions, managing festivals, these are not people who I know have a history of being involved in matters that have to do with, the performing arts. So they don't know what they're really doing. And I think that is part of our issue. Let's get the right management, the right personnel in place. And finally, money. People keep talking about money. We don't have a money problem. What we have is a prioritizing problem. You see money being spent in so many different areas in Dominica, on vehicles, on equipment, on rifles for the police, etc., etc. So there is money, but the priorities are wrong. You have a library, a public library that helped educate people like myself and others in my generation, and it is sitting there rotting right across the street from the house of the president. So we have money, but we are not putting it where it matters and where it counts. And in my view, unless we send those kind of signals, stop asking people from outside to send us money. Let's reallocate some of what we already have in Dominica to send a strong signal that we are taking the lead. If you want to come on board, join us. But we are not waiting for you to give us money for us to start the preservation and the advancement of our culture.
Thank you very much, Mr. Atherton Martin. Thank you very much, Lagardam de la Chanson Martinez.
Thank you,
We'll do
Alex.
this again because I love the interaction. I love the energy. I love lots of important areas of concern that the people have because you must bring the information to the people and they give the feedbacks. I really want to pray that the Father will continue to guide, bless, and protect you, Ophelia, and Afi, for what you guys have done for the Nature Isle. And all we can continue to do is pray for that blessings and thanks what you have done for the Nature Isle, Thank you, Ophelia.
Thank you.
you, Afi. Thank you, the big station. May God bless you, Dominica. The news major comes up next.